Welcome back, dear viewers. As we said earlier, that President Abdel al-Sisi wrapped up his visit to Germany, and his meeting also tackled he participated in Petersburg climate dialogue. And to shed more light on the importance of this visit, we are joined over the phone by Mr. Ayman Abdel. He is UN climate change expert. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, sir, as I've just mentioned, that President Abdel al-Sisi participated in the 12th Petersburg Climate Change Conference. So, sir, can you tell us more about the importance of this conference?
Well, first, thank you for having me today. And actually, just to stress on the importance of this visit, we as Egypt, we have a very significant role not only in the African continent, but I can claim that we are having a role in the Middle East region.
Yes.
Regarding the climate change issue, because what we are dealing with now is a life-related issue, and actually Egypt and the African continent in general is going to be hit hard by climate change if no very serious measures are taken. And President Sisi visit at this point of time is very important because, as you know, we are organizing the COP27 next November in Sharm el-Sheikh. And as we are the leaders in this regard, we have to make it a very strong point that the industrial countries has to play their role in this regard. The African continent and Egypt specifically are going to be affected by climate change. We have to face it, we have to admit it. And we have to be very prepared for that. And Egypt already started taking very serious steps in this regard by getting into adaptation plans. And we should not only stress on resisting climate change, because resisting climate change is good, but it has to be done by the industrial countries, not by us. We are contributing with a very minimal amount of carbon dioxide emissions, and the same, we have to play a proportional role in this regard. But we have to stress on climate adaptation. Adaptation is the word. Adaptation is the secret word in the next decade or two. And that's what President Sisi is stressing in all the international conferences and international events. And I'm sure that this is going to be stressed more and more in Sharm el-Sheikh next November.
So, sir, what climate goals should come first on the list for climate finances?
Well, like I said, that we have to put climate adaptation as number one. We have to adapt in different aspects, starting from the change in temperatures, even the chaos in the forecast. I mean, I'm sure that all of us can feel it, that one day it's hot, next day it's cold, and there is a big difference between day and night. So there should be like a think tank in how to adapt with these severe changes. One more important point is agriculture, because all crops and all plants are affected dramatically by temperature and humidity year-round. So we have to be very aware about how to grow, types of crops and types of plants that can adapt with these changes. We cannot continue doing business as usual. We cannot continue planting what we were planting hundreds of years ago. All research centers have to work very hard in advancing research and applying these. I mean, there should be a very small gap between research and implementation. We don't have the time. We are running out of time. And, things are progressing very rapidly. And we have to keep the pace with the change which is taking place.
So, sir, Cairo was described as seeking more African recognition in combating climate change. How can this be achieved?
Again, I want to repeat that the African the African continent should not stress on combating climate change, but on adapting. African continent cannot combat climate change because it's not the cause of climate change. Climate change is caused by the industrial countries. All the industrial countries have to play the main role in combating or reversing the climate change which is taking place. We, as African continent and Egypt, we have to stress on climate adaptation. So there is very big difference between combating climate change and adapting climate change. We have to concentrate on climate change adaptation, and we have to make it very clear to the industrial countries that they have to play the major role in climate change combating and reversing what's going on. Because let me be very honest with you, because we are getting to the point of non-return. I mean that if we exceed this point, we will not be able to reverse what's going on, even whatever we do. It's going to be like chaotic behavior of planet Earth, chaotic behavior of climate, and nobody will be able to reverse what's going on. So we're talking very serious. It's life and death situation, and we have to make it very clear that who caused this have to pay, and who caused this has to play the major role, and they don't just go blaming us as Africa or as Egypt that we have to combat climate change. We cannot. We are not the cause of this. So they have to understand that.
Yes.
They understand it, but we have to make it clear that we understand that, and we have to make them admit this fact.
So, sir, what obstacles hinder international efforts to control climate change factors, and how can we face these obstacles?
Well, the main obstacle is I don't want to put it, it's the greed of human being, like all the industrial countries and America and the North, they want to continue living as is. They don't want to change. Well, there are some steps taking place, but it's not enough. They have to understand that they have to cut down their consumption of energy, excess consumption of food, excess consumption of everything. They have to understand that this is the main obstacle, that they cannot continue doing business as usual. They cannot continue living the luxurious lifestyle that they have been living in the past. It's no longer an option. Otherwise, because if climate change progresses, everybody will be hit hard. Nobody will be safe in this regard.
Yes, finally, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Ayman Abdel Wahab, UN climate change expert. Thank you for these precious information. And we go back to our local news, and the Central Bank of Egypt, CBE, on behalf of the Ministry of Finance, issued 29 billion pounds in treasury bills and bonds on Monday. The T-bills were offered in 2 installments, with the first valued 14 billion pounds with 91-day term.